In the silent stretch of the Arabian desert, under a night sky brushed with stars, a gentle wind sweeps across the dunes, whispering old tales of valor, sorrow, and undying love. Among those whispered names carried on the breeze, one echoes louder and deeper than the rest. Antarah ibn Shaddad, the black warrior of Banu Abs, whose soul was a flame and whose tongue sang with poetry as fierce as his sword. He was born the son of a noble Arab father and an Abyssinian slave mother. Though his blood carried nobility, society marked him otherwise. In the eyes of his tribe, he was less than a free man, strong enough to defend their herds, yet never worthy of a place at their feasts. But the boy who once herded camels with downcast eyes grew with a fire in his heart, and he listened to the winds as if they were teaching him the language of warriors and poets. They say his mother, ʿAbla, would sing to him lullabies not from the tents of Banu Abs, but from far across the sea, ancient and soft like waves. And when the other boys mocked him, threw dust at him, and called him the son of a slave, Antarah said nothing. He only clenched his fists and dreamed, not of revenge, but of worth, of becoming something undeniable. As he grew, so too did his frame. Broad shoulders like mountain ridges, arms that could bend iron, eyes sharp as obsidian. But more than that, there was poetry in his spirit. He began to speak in verse without trying, the words flowing from his mouth like spring water over stone. He praised the desert, its cruelty and its beauty. He sang of horses and blood and freedom, but most of all, he sang of her, ʿAbla. ʿAbla, his cousin, his light in the shadow. She was everything he yearned for, noble, graceful, bound by the very traditions that denied him. To love her was to dream of the moon, knowing it could never be touched. But love he did, not with soft sighs, but with fierce oaths. He promised to prove himself, to become so mighty that no man could question his right to hold her hand. That day came in fire and fury. Banu Abs found themselves under attack. Their enemies came not as bandits, but as an army, sweeping across the plains with swords raised high. The warriors of the tribe stood trembling, and in that moment the call went out. Where is Antarah? He came not for glory, but for truth. With a sword in hand and a cry that split the night, he rode into the heart of battle like a storm. His enemies fell like leaves, and the name Antarah rang out across the land like thunder. That night, a slave became a hero. But though he had saved his people, the old chains of pride and prejudice held fast. They thanked him with cautious eyes, with praise that tasted like dust. Still, he endured. For every poem he recited beneath the moon, for every wound he took in battle, he carried the weight of being too much and never enough. His legend grew. He rode his black steed like a phantom of justice, his voice painting the skies with verse. He journeyed across the deserts, fought in 100 duels, drank deeply from the bitter cup of solitude. He won lands, horses, treasures, but still he could not win ʿAbla. They asked him once, "Why do you not take her? You are feared, you are mighty. Take what is yours." And Antarah replied, "If I must take her, then she is not mine. She must come to me as the desert gives water, freely after long patience." In time, the world bent to his name. Even kings sought him, called upon him to fight beside them, to lend the weight of his sword and his tongue. But Antarah remained a child of the sands, loyal to no banner but honor, to no desire but the dream of a love given, not taken. There was a time when he stood alone beneath the starlit sky, composing verse about the scent of ʿAbla's scarf, how it lingered in his soul like incense smoke. And another time, deep in the mountains, he helped a stranger lift a fallen mule, not knowing the man was a prince who would later offer Antarah gold and title. He refused, saying, "What would I do with gold when I have the desert's fire and her name in my heart?" He wandered far to seek her hand, through valleys where lions roamed and over sands that scorched the feet. Once he battled 5 men from a rival tribe who tried to kidnap ʿAbla during a pilgrimage. He fought like a whirlwind, blooded and torn, returning her to safety without a word. When she asked why he came, he said, "Because you are the poem I have yet to finish." Their moments were rare and fleeting, glances shared across the fires of tribal gatherings, words exchanged in a quiet shade of date palms. But those moments lived forever in his poetry. In his verses, he spoke of the curve of her eyes like twin crescents, of her voice like a stream through the rocks. He wrote not to impress, but to preserve what his heart could not contain. ʿAbla, in her quiet strength, was moved by his constancy. She too carried the burden of loving a man the world would not let her have. But love, like water, finds its path through stone. She once sent him a scarf, embroidered with her own hand, and when he received it, he kissed it and wept. Yet even in love, Antarah remained a warrior. He knew that to win her, he had to win the world's respect. So he fought not only for glory, but for honor, for dignity, for a place where love could be unshackled by pride. His poetry, bound in the mu'allaqat, the 7 hanging odes, would one day be hung on the walls of the Kaaba in Mecca, so great was its power. In verse, he was eternal. In love, he was faithful. In war, unmatched. There are tales that say Antarah once rode from sunrise to sunset to rescue a caravan taken by marauders, not because they asked, but because it was right. He returned the stolen goods, refused any reward, and left only his verse behind, etched on the stones with his dagger. And others whisper of a night in the Valley of Lions, where he stood alone against 3 warriors who sought to end his legend. They say the desert itself held its breath, and when the sun rose, only Antarah remained, his chest bloodied, but his head held high. When the wind howled, he listened, not in fear, but in reverence. He spoke to it, asked it to carry his words to ʿAbla, wherever she might be, and perhaps she heard, in dreams or echoes, the vow of a man who never stopped loving her. He aged with the dignity of stone, with scars as his ornaments. In time, he no longer rode to war, but sat by the fire, teaching young poets how to feel the rhythm of the earth, how to write not for pride, but for truth. Some say he died in battle, defending his tribe one final time. Others claim he wandered into the dunes, letting the desert claim him, his final poem lost to the winds. But all agree on one thing: he was a flame that refused to flicker. So sleep now, traveler. Let the voice of the past cradle your thoughts. Let Antarah's story guide you into dreams of fire, of honor, of love, eternal beneath the stars of Arabia. And when the night grows still, remember his words, echoing across time like music in the silence. I am the one whose poem lives after him, and my blade was the ink with which I wrote my truth. Close your eyes. Let the sands carry you. Let his legend keep you safe.